Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for...
I told him when I come back, we're going swimming. So, tell everybody thank you for them. Скажи, дякую.
Дякую.
Не, английский.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, что? Very much. Еще раз.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Future president of Ukraine right here. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I want to jump straight in here. I've got operator Starsky with me, and welcome, brother.
Hello, Greg. You know, it's always a pleasure to see you, and also you have such inspiring intros every single time. I have enormous pleasure watching them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That kid right there, I'll be back with him in a couple of weeks. I'll be back in Ukraine, and he has been awarded 2 state awards for being a war volunteer. And he's now almost 12 years old. His first award was when he was 9, a national award for being a volunteer fighting. And he's down on the southern area. I'll leave it at that. And he is a legend around here on the Hope Train. So thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you because without you, we'd just be talking to each other. And I know that the last 24 hours have been confusing, a lot of questions, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of opinions being thrown around, a lot of I don't even know how to put it into English, but it's just been like, who let the dogs out? Just from misunderstanding, not being able to have people give solid information as to what is unfolding inside Ukraine. And the people, we all love Ukraine so much, and we stand and we support. So today, over the next hour or so, Starsky and I, and really basing on his wisdom, expertise, he is a veteran. He is a combatant against Russian propaganda. He is an understander of all things Ukraine. I couldn't think of a better guest. And I messaged him immediately after I put the video up last night with Zelenskyy in his first statement that he made. And I said, okay, we just have to wait and see what unfolds. And I messaged him I think it was right then, and got up this morning and saw his response. I said, dude, I need you to help. And he so graciously said yes. So thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Generally speaking, the biggest reason I agreed is because I respect you so much. That's reason number 1. But reason number 2 is because I worked with the law enforcement back in my days, and I have just a bit of understanding how all this machine works, right? So when I saw this law being signed by president, and then all the reaction that followed, I realized 2 things. First thing was that this was not communicated properly with the society, all right? And second thing is that I would not call this a crisis. It's an opposite thing, because just to understand the situation, we have plenty of Russian spies, all right, that infiltrated 2 anti-corruption agencies that emerged in Ukraine after 2014. We have plenty of people who want to remove those spies. we have also plenty of people who see their chance, and those people are not good people. We're talking about like old corrupted dudes from the Yanukovych times, from Yanukovych era, that see opportunity for themselves. And we already seen several cases like that. They literally want to return and do what they did best, which is basically taking bribes and turning this anti-corruption machine into like rotting piece of crap. And we also see people protesting against corruption, and supporting those two anti-corruption agencies, which otherwise would be criticized very, very bad every single day, because despite being created and developed in order to remove corruption from different sectors of Ukraine's governance, but they were criticized big time for not being as efficient as society expected. So it's like society is protecting those agencies at this moment, because again, being reassigned under the General Prosecutor Office means that those two agencies that were completely independent, that they will lose this independence, which is bad. But on the other hand, people who protest against that are the same people who criticize those agencies every single day really, really bad, because they're not as efficient as they expected. So just so people could understand. But whatever is happening right now, in my personal opinion, as far as I can see, is positive changes. And I think we will talk about it a bit later.
Okay, first of all, guys, just so you are aware, we did not sit around for 2 hours and talk about what we want to say. I have some slides to guide us, and it may be things that we agree with or disagree with, but it's the huge narratives out there. But I can tell you right now that I 100% agree with Operator Starsky, and I'm so... I like, man, you just made me feel relieved inside, because I see this as a positive for Ukraine. And we're already seeing changes. Of course, there's going to be knee-jerk reactions when something like this happens immediately. Of course, Marjorie Taylor Greens are going to start spewing their lies and hatred, and Russia's going to do what they can to take advantage of it. But patience always stands, because it's like I shared last night, man. Ukraine, unless you're in Ukraine, have been in Ukraine, and have a lot of experience there, you really can't understand what it's like to be in that war zone for all of this time, and the amount of pressure that this nation is operating under globally in a full-scale war. And you have to, it's like, okay, well, they're doing what a terrible thing. Yeah, but you're sitting on your beach pool in Fiji, so you can't compare the mindset and the mentality and the emotion of what is happening inside Ukraine. So that was a great start. So as we say here, let's do this. 24 hours that changed Ukraine. Live, I think absolutely we've got 24 hours that changed Ukraine, but I see long-term positive on this. Now, we will tell you this before we get going. Negotiations were just completed. They only lasted 40 minutes. The good news is here, we're looking at some civilians exchanges up to about 1,200 folks. Military return of soldiers that have been in captivity for over 3 years. This could be some Azov guys, potentially. Maybe. I don't know. Wounded are going to be returned. Once again, Russia, no movement on a full ceasefire. Russia proposes 24-hour cycles of silence occasionally to remove wounded and dead. Russia agrees to exchange severely wounded, those held in captivity over 3 years, and position according to Medinsky, of Russian Federation, Ukraine regarding the memorandums are very far apart, and Ukraine offered for a meeting of the presidents in August. And guys, that's it. That's all we have. They're done. So we continue, and I don't think much more was expected. So before we go any further, I want to say this as an American and a Ukrainian. I'm a passport holder in Ukraine. I'm a documented Ukrainian resident permit. Ukrainians are the best. Let's just start there, because they are protesting and they are making their opinions heard. And there are no police out beating people. There are no buildings being burned down. There are no cars being flipped over. It's peaceful protesting where they are making their statement and their voices heard. So I think that is a great example. I mean, we can't even have a protest in the United States without absolute chaos unfolding. And this is a war-torn nation that is having this transition happen. And we're going to see what the end results are in regard to the corruption. And we're going to get into it. But these guys, they're the best. It's absolutely unclear why the Russian Z supporters, bloggers, news, propaganda are happy about these protests. And with that, I will put into that the American right-wing nut jobs like MTG. You haven't seen anything yet. They're going to be going like dogs after a bone on this over the next few days. But just so they know, this is not a split in the society, and certainly not protest in favor of Russia. And no matter how they feel about Law 12414, they hate Russia even more. And this is actually evidence to the contrary. Civil society in Ukraine and its commitment to democratic values withstand even the test of war. Here's just a couple of videos we'll look at. That's in Kyiv. And guys, these are some big crowds. This is Kyiv. Listen. There you go. You know, I was, Starsky, I was on Maidan a couple of days after that terrible event there. Zhenya, my partner, was there when people were being wounded. I was there at the Orange Revolution there in Kyiv. And I just want people to know that Ukrainians are wonderful people. And this is a demonstration of growing pains and birth pains. And I see a positive outcome from this in the long run, as you were saying. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's beautiful. It's democracy.
Absolutely. This is something I was talking about a lot, because Ukrainians are known for having this direct democracy, let's call it this way. It's when, for example, the government takes a decision or hesitates about taking a decision, then people go outside, they go on the streets, they protest, and generally they push the government towards the correct decision, towards the right decision. We saw that, oh my God, so many times. 2015, Ukraine, the commercial companies were still trading with Crimea, right? And people went on the streets and they said, guys, what the heck? It's not supposed to be like that. So the government blocked the commercial companies from trading with Crimea, with the occupied territory, with the companies controlled by Russians. Then people asked the government that very year, guys, why do we still supply electricity to the occupied territory? It's not supposed to be like that. And the government said, oh, yeah, sure, all right. And they shut down the electricity going to the occupied territory. And that's literally two examples. There are so many of them, guys. In Ukraine, we have direct democracy coming from people to the government, and this is how it works. This is what it looks like exactly. That's first thing. Second thing, as a military and as a former policeman, I'm so much concerned, seeing so many people on the street during the wartime, because that is literally like that situation is both inspiring and so extremely dangerous. So extremely dangerous because
I'm watching.
Russians need, Russians need several hours to prepare, for example, the launch of their ballistic missiles, Iskander platforms, and things like that. But if it happens, that is just horrible. Yeah,
Exactly.
not like I'm saying that people should not express their opinion, even though we even allow this during the wartime, because we have let's say instructions, all right, that people should avoid meetings in big numbers, like gathering concerts, gathering like big groups of people at stadiums and things like that during the war, because literally a bunch of Shahed drones, missiles, that is extremely dangerous for people.
We
That's
did
why
we did a Christmas program, and it was in the Kherson Oblast, and it was not this past Christmas, but the one before, and very, very, very dangerous, of course. And we were close, but we had worked with the military administration. It was like 150 kids, and we were giving them Christmas presents and all that. But of course, we were not allowed to advertise it. We were not allowed to do anything. And we had to work with like the regional administration, the regional government, the regional military administration, and they permitted it because they wanted the kids to have a little bit of joy at Christmas, because they were down like in the war-torn villages, and they had been occupied and then liberated. So literally we had that event, and it was in complete secrecy, and everybody just showed up at one space. We did the event, no advertisement. We gave the gifts out in a hidden place, had a little Christmas program with them, and everybody left. And that's because you just can't gather like that. So yeah, we're watching that. I will tell you this, the chat right now I'm watching, and there's a lot of consistency in the comments where people are going, okay, I'm glad y'all are doing this. I'm glad to hear what Starsky's thoughts are and opinions are, what Greg's thoughts and opinions are, because let's see, like Mad App Max, most everything we're seeing right now is just headlines and clickbait titles and giving their opinions, and most of them are bad MAGA or Solovyov views of what's going on. So this is really good. No, we're going to fight against that. General Consensus was asking, is it possible there was corruption within the anti-corruption agencies? They had a lot of authority the last 2 or 3 years. And yes, that is some of the issue. There were cases inside with moles and FSB. And it's a huge, complex story. Guys, it's just amazing. I think it's difficult for people to understand, Starsky, and you can speak to it. I know what I've experienced, and I'm just there, soon to be my 15th month running aid and helping. But even how critical it is with security, and it's only getting more stringent. I remember early in the war, Zhenya and I running, and it was easier. And then now, even nuances of using the Ukrainian, speaking to another soldier, making sure that he's not a mole or an operative. And when we leave, and Zhenya go, yeah, I used this phrase on the guy, and he used another phrase back to me. We're good. This is good people. And I mean, I'm like, dude, it's that serious. And then we were coming actually out of a block post, probably 2 years ago, when we were heading into Kryvyi Rih. And as we were coming in, huge block post there going into Kryvyi Rih was earlier in the war, one of the largest actually. And when we came through and we were checked, and the guy put us through absolute torture by himself, out of the vehicle, searching everything. And man, we were getting hot. Just like, okay, dude, you need to stop. And he's speaking just like pure Russian, zero Ukrainian. And Zhenya started messing with him a little bit. And then I got mad and I started ripping on him, man. I said, listen, dude, you're sitting here, right here. And I just came from stinking Bakhmut. Okay. So get out of my face. And I mean, it was aggressive, and sorry, people, you get the real stories, but this is the tension of the war. And when Zhenya speaking to him, and he says, all right, you guys go ahead. We went about a kilometer down the road, and Zhenya goes, you know what? I think he's an operative. He turned around and went back, and we went looking for the commander because he wanted to know. And that's just on the streets, guys, at a block post. So yeah, it's a lot of it everywhere. And, it's quite a challenge. So, Derek heard that Zelensky's introducing another bill. Is that true? You're going to hear that from the president himself in just a minute. I have that voiced over for you. One
thing that
go ahead.
I wanted to say is that
I'm just trying to keep up with
Russia's
contents and yeah, go ahead and navigate us.
Yeah, so the reason why Russians celebrate this so much is because they try to present those protests as protests against the current government and President Zelensky himself. And although there on the banners, we can clearly see the main messages of the protesters saying that the law is crap. This new bill is crap. That's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nobody protesting, like we have to remove the government, we have to change, the ruling regime. No. But the Russians will be presenting it absolutely like this way, exactly, as if Ukrainians are tired of this Nazi Jewish president and they want to remove him and finally let their Russian brothers liberate them, which is such a bullshit. I think maybe we should explain very, very briefly, the story of why those agencies emerged in the first place. And
well, that's why I have this slide here, because let you do that, and then let's go to Zelensky's update tonight. I've got that voiced over and ready for us. And then I just want to show people a couple of different opinions from different sides. But when it comes down to it, we're fighting for our nation to be better, and the enemy is not each other. That's why Starsky's so right. They're not out screaming down with Zelensky, down with the Ukraine. They're saying the law, and the bill. The enemy is Russia, not each other. And this is so important. So, all right, you take it away and explain to everybody in a nutshell what unfolded and the reason for it.
All right. So 2014, after the Revolution of Dignity, we had probably the only primary, the highest anti-corruption agency, which was basically Security Service of Ukraine, SBU. They would arrest, top officials for bribes and corruption and things like that. But what do you do if you have corruption in Security Service of Ukraine? Because again, as we remember, 2022, as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine, the chief the top leadership of the security service started the cleaning process, and they removed plenty of corruptionists and Russian moles from the security service of Ukraine. So basically, service was cleared, and this process is ongoing, right? The latest case was basically a couple of months ago, I believe, when General Maluk himself was holding that Russian spy there and showing him on camera. So what do you do if you have cases of corruption and spies in the highest agency? So there are several agencies created that were completely independent. There was a National Anti-Corruption Bureau and Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office.
This is so NABU. That's the NABU.
NABU and SAP.
And SOP, exactly. Okay, because I want people to understand, because you're going to hear Zelenskyy in just a minute. I voiced him over. He speaks specifically about Nabu and SOP. So that's what we're talking about, okay?
Yeah. So who served there? Of course, they had their own, would not call it tender, casting, let's call it casting, selection program of operatives who would work in those agencies. But at the same time, one thing you got to understand, 2014, Ukraine just went through the revolution of dignity. We have a bunch of people who joined the law enforcement. We have a bunch of people who still served under Yanukovych, and they still serve in the post-revolutionary Ukraine, right? Because how exactly do you remove those people? Question number one. And question number two, if you remove those people, who will be working instead of them, right? And on the third place, we had a bunch of society's expectation, all right? So from the standpoint of emotional expectation of Ukrainian society, we had to literally put all sorts of corrupted officials and top officials behind bars immediately. We had to remove the corrupted police, again, do it immediately, everyone who served under the Yanukovych and yada yada. We had to make reform in the police, in the law enforcement. Those reforms were made, re-attestation of or re-evaluation of law enforcement officers in Ukraine, which happened in 2015, 2016. But you have a guy who worked as an official in the police during Yanukovych, all right? and it's post-revolutionary Ukraine. We already have Russians attacking us in Donbass, Russia annexing Crimea, and this dude keeps working there. You need a reason to actually fire the guy. You need a reason to come to the guy and say, dude, you're a corrupted cop. You worked with Yanukovych, you were repressing people. You should be fired. And the dude goes, what's your evidence? Okay, so you have several anti-corruption agencies that do their job, that do their duties, collecting evidence against people who know that they collect evidence against them. So this is an incredibly hard task, and collecting evidence and opening cases against thousands of people employed all over Ukraine. Kind of tough.
Very tough.
So then we're dealing with, and again, let's imagine we just fire all the cops who worked prior to 2014. Imagine what happens to our streets. Imagine what happens to society, in total. So we already went through that. There were a lot of misunderstandings that literally emerged due to miscommunication, because again, 90% of all F-ups that happen in Ukraine, according to my experience as somebody who worked in the law enforcement and in the military, that's literally due to miscommunication. Mm-hmm. That's it. And now we have this situation when we have those independent agencies that are being redirected under the supervision of general prosecutor, which was done because there were a lot of criticism towards the Anti-Corruption Bureau, and there were a lot of criticism towards the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office. So this was one of the decisions that was made by the Verkhovna Rada, by the Ukrainian parliament, and by president, all right, to redirect them under the General Prosecutor Office of Ukraine. which basically means that they lose independency, and after that, general prosecutor can dictate which cases they should keep running, all right, which cases they should investigate, and which cases they should dismiss. Which is not really cool, all right, from the standpoint of fighting corruption, right, from the standpoint of transparency, it's not cool. And that is why we had so much response coming not only from Ukrainians, not only from our society, but also from our European colleagues, saying that, guys, it's wrong. Like, what you're doing regarding fighting corruption is wrong, right? It's not supposed to be that way. And the biggest thing that people must understand right now is that due to reaction of society, all right, because decision that was made by the Verkhovna Rada, and I'm talking about this bill that was later redirected to president. It wasn't because they wanted to restore corruption or anything like that. No, it was because they tried to resolve the situation using what they have. All right, using trusted people in the General Prosecutor Office and everything else, they tried to resolve this information their way. But because they did not communicate this situation with the society, because generally we have war and generally we have chain of command and things like that, society got mad and upset, which was completely deserved, right? So society expressed its opinion, right, to the government. That very evening, President Zelenskyy had meeting with chiefs of the law enforcement agencies and General Prosecutor Office and everyone else. And today, already both the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office, those two agencies that we're talking about, they already made a message, a statement, thanking everyone, expressing their gratitude to everyone who were defending their position. And they also expressed gratitude to President Zelenskyy, who said that we will be working on a new bill that will ensure independency of those agencies, and basically we will resolve this situation. And this is very important because we can see that both government and our society are involved into changing this system and removing old corrupted individuals.
Listen,
right?
You got to pause. You've got to pause.
Слава Україні!
That's it. I couldn't handle it anymore because I am so thankful that I made no videos today, no updates. I said, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to be a clickbait idiot. I'm going to get the facts. I have my perspective, 28 years working inside Ukraine. And brother, your brain and my brain on this particular topic is in 100% agreement. 100%. This is going to end up being a beautiful thing when we see it play out. You are describing it perfectly, and I want to say thank you. You are the most one of the most qualified people to talk about this. This is your area of expertise. You're ex-police, you're ex-military, you are a veteran of the war. If you don't listen, guys out there, this is what you need to share, and we will share it. We will get it out. But please listen to this man, and he's telling you the truth. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful because I'm just going to say this. I love Ukraine. I'm a card-carrying citizen, and I sacrifice time with my family, my stable life in the United States, to help the Ukrainian army, the military, civilians, because I believe it's the #1 fight in the world right now. And it's not just a military battle. but it's actually a fight for truth and freedom. And we are watching a metamorphosis right before our eyes in the government. It's like a cocoon where you got this ugly worm, and it's trying to open up and bring out this beautiful butterfly. And I'm telling you right now, dude, the people that have been screaming pro Zelensky for 3 years, and now they turned on him like a rabid dog in the last 24 hours. I don't want to ever see you. I don't want to ever hear from you. I don't want you to make one more video. I don't want you to say anything, because you have to allow the process to come out. And I'm not saying Zelensky's perfect at all. But what I'm saying is we have a process of growth, and you have to be patient in these things. So thank you for the way you're presenting that.
There is one hilariously funny thing, though, about this situation. Is when Russians start, Russian news agencies and yada yada, they start criticizing Zelensky. They start expressing their point of view on what is happening in Ukraine for a very, very, very simple reason. It's so funny to hear when Russians speak about fighting corruption. And also, it's really, really funny to hear Russians speaking about democracy. So when you hear them literally talking about those two topics, I don't know, just make screenshots and send them to me, all right? Because that will make me extremely happy.
Well, let's do this. You brought us to this place, and I think people want to hear it, and there are questions about it. Let's go to this next. So yes, Zelensky had a meeting. He's had multiple meetings. And here is what he says. We all hear what society says. He gathered the heads of law enforcement, anti-corruption agencies, prosecutor general, just like Starsky's reporting. He says we all have a common enemy, the Russian occupiers, and the defense of the Ukrainian state requires sufficient strength of the law enforcement and anti-corruption system, and therefore a real sense of justice, the president wrote. According to Zelensky, the meeting discussed the necessary administrative and legislative decisions that will strengthen the work of each institution, resolve existing contradictions, and remove threats. Everyone will work together, and this will be supported at the political level. He then stated he will submit to the Verkhovna Rada a bill aimed at strengthening the independence of anti-corruption bodies. The document will be prepared jointly with the law enforcement and anti-corruption teams. The Rada is on vacation until August 20th, but the word is now coming through multiple deputies that there will be an emergency reconvening of the Rada next week to address this. So now we have to wait for that. Now, let me play just this excerpt. I voiced it over from Zelensky tonight, and then we'll get Starsky's response to that. Here's Zelensky just a little while ago. Of course, there were many meetings with government officials and representatives of law enforcement agencies. That's actually how my day began, with a very detailed conversation involving SBU, NABU, SAP, MS, NAZEKA, and DBR. The Ukraine's prosecutor general, it was important to me that each of them share their arguments and their perspective. It was important that they finally tell each other what had long been building up. I really value the agreement to work as a team, to continue collaborating, and to implement measures that can truly create a sense of unavoidable accountability and therefore justice in Ukraine. We agreed that the heads of these institutions will jointly propose an action plan, a plan of concrete steps that can strengthen the rule of law in Ukraine. Of course, everyone has heard what people are saying these days, what they are saying on social media, to each other, on the streets. It's not falling on deaf ears. We've analyzed all the concerns, all the aspects of what needs to be changed and what needs to be stepped up. I will propose a bill to the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine that will be the response. It will ensure the strength of the rule of law system, and there will be no Russian influence or interference in the activities of law enforcement. And very importantly, all the norms for the independence
незалежності
of
антикорупційних
anti-corruption
інституцій.
institutions will be in place.
І дуже очікую від
I strongly
самої
expect
нашої
specific proposals of the legal norms that should make it happen from our group of heads of law,
від
enforcement,
Генерального
and
прокурора
anti-corruption
України конкретних
agencies,
пропозицій,
from the Prosecutor
тих
General
форм,
of
які
Ukraine.
мають спрацювати. Це
There will be a
буде
presidential bill,
президентський законопроект. І
and
ми
we
реалізуємо
will
це
implement
в рамках
it as a
нашої
part of our
стратегії
strategy for the
трансформації
transformation
держави.
of the state.
Сьогодні ж я
Also
підписав
today,
указ
I signed a
про
decree to
скорочення
reduce
бюрократичних
bureaucratic
процедур
procedures
і
and immediately launch an
проведення
audit
негайного аудиту
of public
державних
spending.
видатків. Я
I
очікую
expect
від
the
уряду
government
України
of
протягом
Ukraine to
місяця
deliver
конкретних
concrete results
результатів,
within a month so that we can
направити
redirect
максимум
as many
наших
state
державних
resources
ресурсів
as possible to
на оборону
Ukraine's
України,
defense and to our state's
стійкість
resilience.
нашої держави. І також
We are
готуємо
also
відчутні
preparing
кроки
meaningful steps
щодо
on
дерегуляції,
deregulation
щоб
to give
дати
people
більше
more
свободи
freedom.
людям. Ми все
We
це
will definitely
точно
make it
зробимо.
all happen.
І я
And
дякую
I thank
всім,
everyone who
хто
supports
підтримує.
these efforts.
І
And what will remain most important is
найголовніше
not losing
не втратити єдність
our
країни,
national unity,
закінчити
ending this
цю
war,
війну,
stopping
зупинити це
the
російське
Russian
зло
evil
і
and
забезпечити
securing a dignified
Україні
peace
достойне
for
І
Ukraine.
саме так,
And exactly
як
as
всі
we all
ми це
envision it,
бачимо,
as a full-fledged
повноправною
part
частиною
of Europe.
ми зробимо це.
We'll make it happen.
Слава Україні!
Glory to Ukraine. There you have it. Just a couple of hours ago. I mean, he addressed it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I should admit there was a crisis, okay, but not crisis on the level of Ukraine. It was a crisis on the level of office of the president of Ukraine, because again, as an insider, all right, someone who spent years working there in those establishments, the way it looks like, all right, when people gather on the street and start protesting, people working in those establishments, they all of a sudden they realize that they have crisis. Something didn't work, and they will have to explain this to their boss, to their chief, and like up the chain of command, they will have to explain to president as well, like why people are on the street, why they're protesting, what should be done. And that is the reason why President Zelenskyy gathered all the chiefs of the law enforcement agencies and prosecutor general, and why they had that meeting, because it was basically a crisis meeting, which resulted in them finding a common plan of reaction. So now all the chiefs must present to President Zelenskyy a plan of action. And based on this plan, they will be presenting a new draft bill to the Verkhovna Rada. So this is how it works. This is what it looks like in a democratic country, all right? And this is something that Russians struggle to understand. Like, how come people dictate their president, dictate their government what to do? Like, was it even possible, you know, because they don't know what democracy is.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it's
like
it's
18th
window
century.
it's windows and poisonous tea. Yeah.
So what I personally see is things are changing. They were changing like in the proper direction, maybe not in a proper way. All right, but after society got involved and expressed their position regarding this, that those agencies must be independent no matter what. They must not be controlled by higher agency. They must be independent. So this is when the presidential office, as well as chiefs of the law enforcement agencies, made this decision to, all right, we have to react to this. Guys, you have no idea how much people wearing uniform, specifically, react to those protests in Ukraine. Guys, this is like the worst day in our lives when there's people protesting outside, we realize that, oh crap, we gotta react, because that is the crisis. All right, people gathering on the street in Ukraine, that's basically a crisis. All right, we have to come up with some resolution and solve this problem. So people usually start running around like crazy. It doesn't matter if it's like a military establishment, a civilian establishment, I don't know, governmental establishment. There were cases, all right? There were cases in my experience when I worked in the National Guard, right? When we had all of a sudden our brigade started attracting a lot of attention of journalists. And those were like the craziest days for us, because we had to react to the situation. We had to show that we are transparent. We had to make sure that, all right, those guys, because again, 90% of all the crap happening in Ukraine is due to miscommunication. So we had to make sure that those guys can access whatever information they need and realize that in reality, the situation is completely different from what they were told. All right. So this is how it works in a democratic country. And frankly speaking, I'm so happy that society, even despite the risk of being hit, because again, in Ukraine, for example, you can inform the law enforcement, not wait for their approval, but literally inform the law enforcement that you will be having a protest action, for example, at some date, at some location. So even despite the risk of a direct missile strike, right, which was very, very real, people went on the streets and literally made this situation solved the situation, right? Solved the problem. So this is how I see it, and I hope that now you have like a better understanding of the situation as well.
I'm watching the chat, and just in general, first of all, let me say thank you to all the moderators and the team. You're doing a phenomenal job, and it's deeply appreciated. I'm going to get to all you guys that sent a super chat or a thank you. I've been completely focused. This is a little different stream because the information is even new to me, and I have to be so intent on listening to Starsky so I can respond properly. I'm multitasking here, so thank you to the mods. You guys are doing awesome, and I know that right now, in fact, maybe we'll just put this in the chat. When you hear Starsky talk like this, and we're sharing with you our perspectives and bringing understanding to you about what is really happening. Just in general, are you feeling better? Are you feeling better now and get away from all those crappy headlines out there? And listen, it doesn't mean that Ukraine's not going through birthing pains. They are, but it's okay. Beautiful things come from birthing pains. So I hope that you guys are encouraged through this and resolved even stronger to fight for Ukraine. Now, there was a question in the chat. What about European Union? And European offices have been putting in comments, and I'll just read a couple of them to you guys. I have it here. Germany Foreign Office: the independence and strength of Ukraine's anti-corruption institutions have been key to reform efforts of recent years. Ukraine will continue to be measured against their progress. And then hashtag stand with Ukraine. Does that sound like a nation that wants to destroy Ukraine? It wasn't hashtag throw Zelenskyy out. It wasn't hashtag you're going to lose. It wasn't hashtag we've wasted all our money. It was hashtag stand with Ukraine. And then France: it's not too late to abandon this. We'll be watching the issue closely. And then you see the response. Sweden: over the past decade, Ukraine has made significant progress in fighting corruption. Extremely important not to lose the way. Great statements. Dutch foreign minister: limiting powers of Nabu and SAP is a step backward. Protecting the independence of these institutions, further progress rule of law remain key to Ukraine's EU accession process. Listen, people will look at them and go, man, okay, man, those nations are upset. I don't see that at all. I see the nations coming in and going, hey, you're doing a good job. This is a bump. This is a transition. This is a change. This is an adjustment, but stay on course, because hashtag we're standing with Ukraine. And, coming out, guys, news right now, U.S., well, we got bad, I don't want to call it bad news. We just have news. Spiegel reporting Patriots will not be there till 2026. That's not surprising, but we do have about $300 million worth of Hawk systems and repair and some other good news coming out for supplying and assisting Ukraine, on a day when people are screaming like crazy. So for me, I mean, do you see those comments the same way?
Yeah,
Encouraging.
100%. You describe them exactly the way I see and hear them. Basically, the guys are saying, guys, you're doing great, all right, so you're doing proper things, but please don't remember where you're going. You're going into EU, you're going to be part of the family, all right, so please stay within the frames, all right, so stay within the limits. And follow the rules, all right? So don't forget about that, which is a proper thing. Again, it's not like the countries are like banish Ukraine, all right? No, they're just reminding us that, guys, please make sure that you're doing the right thing, okay? Because Ukraine, as Germany said, Ukraine will be measured by this progress, by the fight, by Ukraine's fight against corruption. So I completely agree with you that this was the case. This was exactly the message in all of those commentaries.
Well, and I know it's late evening or getting late for you over there, and you have a beautiful, beautiful friend over next to you, a lady, and want to make sure I'm sensitive to your time and respect you. Last couple of things here. I see somebody saying Prof. Gertis is in the chat. Let me make sure if I'm missing any questions here. Hello to you, Prof. Let's see here. I just want to make sure I think we've accomplished the goal. Andrea, in Slovakia, Fico recently dismantled the agency fighting corruption, NACA. Interesting that the EU, but Ukraine is criticized for this bill. Shirley McCrindle at Greg, what do you think of the pro-Ukraine guys tearing Zelenskyy apart? I've given my opinion on that, and I will repeat it. I just don't like it. For me, when I commit to something, I commit to it. And President Zelensky's track record for 3 years has been impressive. And he is learning. He's growing. Ukraine is growing. Ukraine is learning. Has he made mistakes? Of course. Have you? Have I? Of course.
Absolutely, my friend. I just want to add.
Please add.
I just want to add, that in Ukraine we have such thing as freedom of speech, all right, and you have right to criticize whoever.
Absolutely.
You like. Okay. Of course, you should not really criticize your commander because he's your commander. It's like not a proper thing to do in the army. But besides all that, you can criticize whoever you like, and you have complete right to do that. And that is the reason why all of those people went on the streets, why they expressed their opinion, and why this opinion mattered so much. So it changed the position of president regarding this bill. And this is the way it's supposed to be in a democratic country.
Completely agree. And, when you just look at, and we'll close out here in the next couple of minutes and keep it to an hour stream. But when you think about whether it's President Zelenskyy or whether it's a commander on the front line or whether it's a soldier, anybody fighting for Ukraine, you guys spending so much time out there in the community, watching and learning and being educated and choosing where you get your information from, and then finding ways to support financially to help Ukraine. You guys also, you do an amazing work, and you do it every day. That's reality. So when you think about, and we would just stay on the topic of Zelenskyy, that man has not slept a full night in 3 years. The man travels all over the world. the man operates in his third language. He speaks Russian, Ukrainian, and English is his third language. He doesn't get on an airplane in Kyiv and fly out. He takes a train to Poland and gets on an airplane, and he goes everywhere nonstop. So the stress, the emotion, he has children, he has a wife, he has a family, he wants a future. And I'm not defending, I'm just telling you the reality of humanity. And, you know, when something doesn't go right, or it comes down and goes, hold on, what is he doing? Okay, and that was my first knee-jerk reaction. I go, hold on, what is this? And then I started digging into it, and I said, okay, I'm not going to say a peep. I want to learn about this and then respond, and I'm going to wait for President Zelenskyy to speak about it because he deserves the right to defend himself and to speak. And that's what we've waited for. Now, 24 hours later, we're where we're at this moment, and you're hearing from Starsky. So, you know, we have to understand it's brutally difficult. This reminds me of things like this. This is you know, we did a fundraiser with Prof. Gertis, and we raised, and Project Konstantin raised money for 5 vampire drones, and it went so quickly. But drone operator Christina, she and I won't pull it out. I don't want to get my video taken off, but this is a special sharp device that she says, oh, I could sure use one of these. And so this is already sitting right here in front of me. I'll be taking it straight to where she's at. And you guys know that she was fighting over in the Donetsk region. And this is what it's all about. So thank you, guys. I want to push us to this statement right here, and then I'll say this. Let's do this right here. When a politician or official does something good, they do something good. When a politician or official does something stupid, they do something stupid. Yesterday, politician Volodymyr Zelenskyy made a mistake. Maybe. One that could cost him a second term, and more importantly, the trust of society. Maybe. Because in cases like peace negotiations, trust in his decisions is extremely important. But at the same time, this is no way cancels out how much of the super useful things Zelenskyy, the wartime leader, our president, has done. But it will blur things in the global eyes. But in the eyes of our partners and the eyes of Ukrainian society, things will become clear. There's 2 pieces of good news. The Russians are going to turn out to be unable to take advantage of the problem that we set up for ourselves yesterday. And number 2, it took a day to realize that if we make a mistake, we need to correct the mistake, and we live in a society that can correct mistakes and do it in a peaceful way. Now it's necessary to fix the correction, adjust, and everyone should take a deep breath, calm down, the damage will be minimal, and then it goes on to say, we will stand together and we will defeat Russia. So this is just cooler heads prevail. And I don't know about you, but I'm once again very grateful that you were able to come and join me today. I needed your help today, man. And I consider you my friend, and I consider you a brother. And thank you. I hope this has been encouraging for everybody out there. Any final things you want to say, brother?
Thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege to be here. I just want to say that, I am not really worried about what the government is doing in Ukraine, right? Because we have people. And in Ukraine, somehow we proved that, since probably 2004, that in Ukraine, people are power for real. And whenever the government takes different, maybe not really proper decisions, Ukrainian people go out and remind them that, guys, we are the power, so please, make sure that you're doing this right, all right? Because we can go on the streets again and remind you, even like on a bigger scale than yesterday. So
Exactly.
I'm really happy that we have people that can literally manage the country, all right? Because this is what we do. all right, since Orange Revolution. So I'm not really worried about the government, because the government will always listen to what the people are saying, and will always correct its steps. So again, I completely respect President Zelensky because he doesn't sleep much. On the other hand, it was his decision to become a president.
That's
I would never do that.
That's correct. It's
so-
that's a really good way to put it. And I'm just looking through the chat really quickly. Just people are so appreciative that we would do this, and I know others will be watching it on demand later. So you guys are welcome here. I will tell you this. There's some questions there. Where do we get our news and information from? Like somebody in the chat, like I can't trust anything. Well, here, Operator Starsky, and there's plenty of others out there that we partner with and work with that try our very best to share the truth and stand for Ukraine. Thank you to all. Let me do this real quick. Papa Dutch, thank you. Trolls are not joiners. Member for 17 months. Papa Dutch, with the super chat, I imagine it's difficult to super chat with a digitalized ruble. He was in here early. Papa Dutch was hanging out in the chat an hour before it, talking to himself, and I came and talked to him. F Oink, don't feed the trolls. Thank you, Oink. They're in Hungary. Blonde Bombsheller, huge shout out to our members and subscribers. Blonde Bombsheller gifting 20 memberships. Papa Dutch waxing eloquent, $2 super chat. Who will watch the watchers? Dunk on you, $20 super chat. Hello, Hope Train Rider is going to be great. It was great. Thank you. And thank you to all the moderators and Pyro Kurt working in the background there. Dunk. Also, and Blonde Bombsheller, who keeps everything running like a well-oiled machine. F-Oink gifting 50 memberships all the way from Hungary. Johnny Nedergaard, Norwegian Kroner, 22. Hello, Hope Train, Slava, Ukraine. Johnny Nedergaard, by the way, Starsky, is the Norwegian island dweller. Papa Dutch, I've got a Starsky party hard patch. Papa Dutch. And Petra Olsen, Swedish non-smoking initiative. You know this about Petra Olsen, Starsky? This dear lady gave up smoking and donated her cigarette money to Ukraine. That's what she does. Yeah, so she's a legend around here. Adam Rounds, engineer. MTG should just move to Russia already. Actually, I would love, I would actually rather see her in Pyongyang, but Russia would be fine. iBag M, a heart and a big bow. Thank you for your service, and that's to you. Paul Sam, 5 gifted memberships. Thank you for that. Maximus, 89.92. Trust in Zelensky. Ukraine does have a great president. World War II epic battles, 10 quid. I used to donate all of my ad revenue to the Ukrainian army. He must be a streamer. Videos, World War II epic battles. I'm going to go check your channel out, by the way. Nowadays, it's too hard to get enough views on YouTube. Thank you for that, and thank you for supporting this way. Suzanne Melody, there must be methods of accountability, even for independent agencies. Seems how to do this is the crux of the matter. That's spot on, Suzanne. Thank you for that. Johnny Nedergaard again. Zelensky is a forever hero. Suzanne Melody, this new improved approach from Zelensky is, in my opinion, driven directly by Ukrainian citizen feedback. Excellent example of democracy at work. And that's exactly what Starsky was saying, Suzanne. And Commander Prankster. And yes, I could read your name with the Q. $10 super chat. Thank you both for what you do. We've got all of you guys covered, and we say thank you. Well, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a prayer tonight. And in my prayer, I'm going to be thankful for you, because yours was a voice of stability today and a voice people needed to hear. And I am honored that you would, accept my invitation and come on for this day. And I appreciate you deeply, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to say really, really briefly that I'm happy that Ukrainian people protest. I'm happy that Ukrainian people speak out. I'm happy that Ukrainian people have guts, to criticize the government for mistakes that the government makes. 100%, because this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, that is exactly right. 100%. And I completely agree and thankful. And I can tell you right now, air alarms are out and shaheeds are flying and Ukraine is fighting. and they will continue to fight, and we will continue to fight with them. So thank you all. You guys be blessed, and we'll be back with the next update, whether on Starsky's channel or mine. And if you haven't, and you're here and you discovered me, but you haven't discovered Operator Starsky, just type in Operator Starsky there on YouTube. But I'm sure you already know Operator Starsky. He's a legend. So, Yaku.
No, I'm not.
Stay in the green room, but we got to roll an outro.